People who get locked into a vision, all right, that's it, man. That's their drive. That's their passion. Critics don't matter. This don't matter. They're going to do whatever it fucking takes to be the best at what they do.
All right, guys, this podcast was shot at the end of a very long day of podcasting. It was before our last Strength Success Summit that we had out here at Elite FTS. And this podcast is with Alwyn Cosgrove, then joined by Julia and Christian Anto. The angle that this went as far as the narrative and the conversation with business and the fitness industry and things that you should do and things you should avoid, certain pitfalls, I think you're not going to find anywhere else. So I definitely think it's worth the time to listen and kind of pick through the podcast. It is long. It's one of our longer ones. And I do believe 3/4 of the way through it started thunderstorming really, really bad. So you might get some little funky audio towards the end of it, but hey, you know, we live and learn and pass on. So to the viewers that are not live, what questions do they have? So from a gym perspective, let's do this.
All right.
Or a personal training perspective. Y'all personal train, I used to, I'm like retired from it. Somebody just asked me yesterday, and it was a real trainer, like somebody that trains people like in person. How to get more clients.
That makes me laugh a little bit because we have to quantify that.
You have to specify.
Well, you do, because actually for this question you do, because it's a marketing related question. He wanted to know how to go about getting more clients. Now as an Instagram DM, I just say, ask more, because I can't really say a whole lot because I got to write a whole book. So how would he go about, or she, I'm not too sure because it's a handle, go about trying to get more clients?
So the way that we've always approached it is everybody knows referrals are number one, like word of mouth is number one, and it has to be. But where we miss it is when someone first joins the gym, that's when they're talking about you the most. That's when they're ripe for a referral. Like we somebody's wait, like you have to ask for the referral. After the Super Bowl, the Monday after the Super Bowl, people are talking about the Super Bowl. After the new Avengers movie comes out, people will be talking about it because it's exciting and it's new. So typically what's happening is this trainer is doing a good job with clients, but training is just a thing they do and it's no longer exciting. So you got to create the excitement. You got to create some type of a short-term train for something, train for a meet or a race or a photo shoot or something. You got to create that excitement again so that they start talking about you. Because referrals are still number one, and everything else we do off of social media or advertising, we're leveraging that. We're leveraging the buzz. Marketing is just communicating what people are already saying about you and taking it to a higher level. So really what's happening a lot of the time is that the person who joins on a Monday and trains with you twice, they're talking about you all week.
Right.
And we're like, we won't ask for a referral yet. Like they're hot right now. Ask for a referral. Give them if you're listening to someone, they'll be talking about their sister who they wish they would come in. They're talking about their boyfriend, or a guy's talking about his buddy or his girlfriend. Give them 30 days with you for free as a gift to the client, right? That will get you another member coming in. All they have to do to redeem this 30 days free with you, right? Or whatever we're talking about, is call you and set up an initial session. And when they call you to set up the initial session, you ask, is there anyone else you'd like to bring with you? Because then you can turn that one into two.
Everybody's going to have a referral.
Yeah, and your idea is to look at, like, if you've got 10 clients, every client should refer you at least one person a year, right? Every year. But it's if they're not talking about you, it's because the gym's not exciting. Change something up. Train for something. Just like give them a new goal. Like maybe it's, hey, we're going to do a challenge this month for your personal best, and we're going to video you and put it on Facebook. If I video a client on Facebook, it's a push-up record or a pull-up record, right? We put that up on Facebook and we tag them, they tag their friends. That's just me leveraging a referral, right? But it's asking, it's you hit it on the head, ask more, like ask people to send you people. But clients think you're busy and you're super packed, right? And they don't want to bother you. But the reality is they don't really understand you can always use more clients. And don't be afraid to ask someone, go, Hey, Chris, you've been training with me for 6 months, and you're the only person that's never sent me a referral. What's up? Like, it's odd not to refer, right? If I'm doing a good job and you're having a good time, it's odd not to refer. And that's the idea, is that target the people who are referring you well, reward them, and ask them for more. And the people that aren't, like, call them out. But your job is to create the excitement. Like, no one's talking about the Super Bowl today.
Right.
It's gone. The excitement's away. They'll be talking about it the week after. And it's the same idea after anything. You create that excitement. You create after a meet or after a race, everyone's talking about it. And that's when you capitalize. Right? But it's referrals are still huge.
I'm going to piggyback on what you're saying of the referral basis and rewarding, because I feel like every time that question's asked to anybody, what they're really asking is, how do I make more money off of people? And it always comes back to you and all your AMAs and giving to somebody something of value. That's valuable to them. You're doing that as a referral, but you're doing it for free. It's not something that in the back of your head, you're like, man, I got to turn this into money. I got to turn this into other things. And I feel that when that question comes around, especially to you, which happened, I think it was last week on AMA, of when do I stop giving free information?
Advice, right.
That's not how it works. Your motive is completely wrong.
I don't think you could ever get, like, I think with Facebook's algorithm changes all the time, right? It's now just almost a paid advertising platform. Insta will be the same. Twitter, they'll all be the same. What always wins is amazing content. Amazing content always wins. And that's your idea. And just get good content out to people. And at the end of it, they're going to come to the conclusion, I need more of what these guys have to offer. They've got it figured out. That you can't at what time do you stop giving away free stuff? My only answer would be is when you're so busy with clients, you don't have time to do that.
Literally
right?
do that,
Otherwise,
right.
And even then, you should still be doing. I mean, I'm getting made fun of for my Instagram here. I'm not monetizing Instagram yet.
Right.
I'm still doing. I'm busy. Like I've got speaking engagements. I've got a gym. I could easily not do a lot of this stuff, but you have to put the content out.
And I will note from a referral standpoint, as far as being in the industry, I'm an infant here at this table in this industry, but I can almost guarantee that everybody here, including me, and I'm an infant in this, the majority of my referrals and my clientele are not coming from social media. It's coming from people I'm working with in the gym. And then when I'm coming to venues like Learn to Train X and the summits, and actually being able to talk to people in person and having some type of intelligent conversation over these topics,
I think
then it transfers.
into
all it does is
online
leverage
programs.
what's already happening
Exactly.
organically. You
Right.
can ramp it up because there's a way to reach people because you can't have the conversation all the time. Right? But that's the idea for the content and the videos and putting stuff out there, is it's shareable and they can use it and put it out there. That's basically the idea is it's still about content and helping people, and referrals are key because people already know, like, and trust you, right? And it's easy to get a referral from someone who knows, like, and trust you.
Yes, absolutely.
I can say that even when our marketing is on point and our advertising is going real well at Results Fitness, there's no cold leads. There's no people who are like, you know what, I decided I opened Facebook one day and searched for gym and found you and I'm coming in. I don't think it's ever happened. Always somebody knows somebody or heard of somebody, you know.
The way I would answer the referral thing, going back to when I started training people, I mean, things change over time. I mean, we're going back now 20 years, 30 years, right? But basic communication skills are still the same. You have to build trust. We've already established that. You have to know how to sell. I mean, that comes down to it. You need to know, time, money, spouse, commitment. Those are going to be your objections. So you should, as you're speaking to anybody, should always be thinking about those questions.
And cover them. Get them
cover
out front.
Yeah. I used to keep, because I worked in a commercial gym, I keep a notebook in the back trainer's room, and I'm not good with names. So I would go in, and this is from the very beginning, 0 clients, just go in and just start talking to people. And we did the laundry service, thank God. Because then I could write down, Jen, red, white shoes, blue shorts,
Gotcha.
blonde hair. and all I did was introduce. But then now I know her name, I know what she wears. And then over a week, I have 50 people, 50 different pages. And then the next time I walk in, it's like, hey, Jen, how you doing? And then from there, we start picking up a conversation, and fast forward, now I got half a page of notes. Jen has
Of
2
information
kids,
on
one plays soccer, the kid's name's Joey. And so now I'm walking in, and it's a Monday, like, hey, Jen, how'd Joey do at his game this weekend? So I'm building rapport from that standpoint, from all the notes that I have. Now, at the same time, the club is giving me leads, because that's what the club does, and you got to take them through and do whatever you got to do. So I do have some clientele. At some point, I will go to Jen and then say, hey, Jen, look, I have an open hour. Is there anything that you're interested in working on? Of course, she's going to say yes. And then by the end of that conversation, it was a closed lead. This is not a referral. This is just sales, okay? But I went from having 0 clients to having 40 billable hours within 4 months, which I could have kept going. Actually, I did, because we hired trainers underneath me. I sucked at teaching them the same skill set. Then when the client was in and I was training them, I'm going to kind of go a little bit with what Alwyn was saying. I paid attention to what they said. I listened, because birds of a feather flock together, right? So if Jen was at a barbecue this past weekend, she's going to tell me she was at this barbecue. And if I see an opening, I'm going to say, hey, Jen, was there anybody at that barbecue that might be interested in a free training session? Now I put faces to names. If you ask people, do you know anybody who's interested in X? They're not going to know, because they can't put faces to names. I just reduced it to 3 or 4 people, and they're like, yeah. I think John might. Great. Do you mind calling John for me and seeing if he'd be willing to come in? Now follow me for a minute. There's a process here. I know she's not going to call him. Okay, I know that. But you never want to be too forward when you're trying to work for referrals or even sales. So the next time she would come in, I'd say, Jen, did you have a chance to call John to see if he'd be willing to come in and train? It's like, I haven't gotten around to it. I'm like, that's cool. Don't worry about it. Let's just see if you can get a hold of him later this week. So I'd do that one more time. She'd come in, hey, Jen, you have a chance to call John, see if he could come in. I'd really love to meet the guy. No, I haven't had time. I was like, how about this? How about you give me his number and I'll call him for you? And now I just took a burden off her plate. Now she doesn't have to call him, and I never had anybody say no. They I can't say it. They were very happy to say, yes, please. And then I say, can I use your name when I call him? All right. So now I called John. I'm like, hey, John, I've been training Jen for a while. She said you had this, barbecue not too long ago. Said that you'd be interested in coming in for a free session. What time would work best for you, Wednesday at 2 or Thursday at 5. You always give options, and not one time did I ever have somebody not show up. Not one time did I ever have somebody not close. But I think where people make a mistake on referrals from a training standpoint, and this has got to still be true today. This is just basic communication. They don't put names to faces. All right. So there's nobody, when you ask them, I didn't even have to offer free sessions. I didn't have to give anything away, because I'm doing them a favor, you know what I'm saying? Because they like the training, they think it's helping them, and I don't have to pull out the results card. I don't have to pull out any of this other stuff. But the other thing I want to say that he mentioned is, if you're not getting at least one referral every 6 months, just kind of organically, then you might want to look at if that client's a good fit for you, because they're probably going to leave soon.
Yeah, 100%.
Because there's something not clicking. And it may not be you, it may not be them. It's just something with the program they're not happy with. So it could be a program readjustment. Maybe you need to sit down, because they're also not going to tell you, hey, I don't like this training program.
No.
Right.
That's a good opportunity.
Something we are aware of with especially the younger trainers, is because they build a relationship with the client and they start talking about personal stuff. I don't mean unprofessional, but every minute with that client is with you is a billable minute. Like if I sat with my lawyer and he spent 10 minutes talking about the soccer game with his kids, I'm going to start getting upset. Right? I'm getting charged for this time. So if I've got a staff member talking about the new boyfriend or the new puppy or what the kids are doing, the clients aren't upset with it, but it's something. It's a little jab, right? And 6 months down the line, and maybe the results aren't as dramatic as they were when you're a beginner, and your finances are a little tight, and you're like, we just end up talking about what you did on the weekend. Right? We had we surveyed former clients, and we got one reply back, and it said, the trainers talked too much about what they were doing on the weekend. Wow. And none of those trainers are with me still, and I can't think who it was, but that's a lady who 10 years later is remembering that's why she didn't renew with us, because it wasn't about her, right? And just doing what Dave said is getting that name is key. Like, I don't want to just have Julia's sister. I want to figure out her sister's name and what her sister's into. And then what we do is I'll have a 30-day VIP pass that I will give to your sister on your behalf, as if you've bought her it.
Right.
Okay. So now it's
almost like a gift card.
Now it's a gift card that's more likely to get passed on.
There's value to it. Yeah.
And then the thing that Dave talked about was, do you know what their kids play? Do their kids go to karate or they go to soccer? What do they actually do? You should know this. So we play a game, the Homer Simpson game. Most people who don't watch The Simpsons can give me 20 details about Homer.
Right.
His wife's name, his kid's name, where he goes for a beer, where he works, his favorite food. Like, write down. But I'm like, all right, Joanne, who was your 9 a.m. on Monday.
What's her husband's name?
Yeah, her husband, you're getting about 4 deep. We should be able to go deeper with somebody who's actually giving you a check than a cartoon character that you probably, you claim you don't watch the show, right? But that's the idea.
Well, it's super interesting that you guys are talking, we've been talking about listening to the other person. I did a little kind of trick one time when I was working for a facility, and we were kind of doing some calling in the area to other facilities to see if our price point was on, what they were offering, things like that. I literally called and I said, I have a question. I'm looking for some information for, my kid. What do you guys offer? And I timed it, and the person on the other end of the phone literally talked about for close to 15 minutes about what they do, their training, their philosophy, all these things. Never asked me a question about how old my kid was, what sport they played, what I needed, what I was looking for developmentally from them. And the takeaway for my staff at that time was, you should be doing more listening than talking. Yeah. And so getting all that information, because we know this, they're going to talk themselves into a sale. Yeah. So when somebody walks into a gym, if they do happen to walk into organically, hi, girl came in the other day. Hi, my name is so-and-so. I saw somebody post about this place. Can you tell me about it? And a lot of I find younger kids tend to just go, here's what we do. Here's what we have to offer. Instead of saying, well, tell me a little bit about yourself. What are you here for? What are you looking for? Boom. Now you've just opened the bag for, So
this is a staff training thing we do. So someone will call and they'll say, hey, do you guys have kickboxing there? And I'll get my young staff to do it. We don't have kickboxing. So a young staff member will answer, no. Like, thanks, hang up, right?
Hard end.
So the question is, what do you like about kickboxing? And they're like, I fucking hate it. I hate all those guys. I'm like, we have nothing like that here. You're gonna love it. And you can use kickboxing, CrossFit, anything you want to say. Find out if they're asking because they want to avoid it or they like it. And no, I'm not saying lie. If somebody's really looking for kickboxing, we don't have it. But I'm like, what is it you like about kickboxing? I just like the high intensity workouts. Well, we have something that you might like. Why don't I bring you in and try that? Like, I'm not going to say we've got spinning when we don't. But if there's something about that you like, then we can fit that in. But it's finding out that idea is I'm thinking about bringing my kids in. And let me tell you, exercise physiology 101 about a female client calls and goes, I don't want to get too big. Oh, yeah. We can go on a big talk about IGF-1 and testosterone and how that can't happen. But your real answer is, I got you. I'll never let that happen to you. Come on in. I get that a lot from it's the feel, felt, found, right? A lot of our clients have felt that way. And what they've found is this, right? I understand how you feel. A lot of our clients have felt that way, and what they've found is this. Right, but it's really building that empathy. It's no like and trust. People do business with people, and it's something that you've done it too. I've seen it organically. Originally, I started to try to really brand Results Fitness and be not the face behind it, and it just really, people want to do business with people. They want to know a face. I think you have more.
No,
you have more followers.
It's
flipped
changed.
over, right?
It's changed.
You have more followers than Elite does directly, right?
This used to not be the case. I mean, at the very start, it's actually, I had to get away from the name at the very start because it was too much just me. But then it was pushing a brand because people wanted to support brands that they could trust. And now it's almost gone in a completely different direction where people don't want to support brands. They don't want to support, big brands and so forth. And, they want to support people. Actually, it's not even the people. They want to support values and causes. So you got to be able to put your values out there and then demonstrate them, not just say this is what we do, but put it out there. And then if they share those values, then they'll do business with you. If they don't, then they're going to do business with somebody else. So I think you should go into the feel, felt. You just
Feel, felt, found?
Yeah, I think you should define that a little bit. I don't think everybody knows what you're talking about.
Okay, so whenever somebody has an objection for a sale or something, they bring something up, human nature is I'll use an example. I think a female client says, I think squats make my legs too big. And your instincts are, no, they don't. Right? But now we're having an argument, right? And all she's going to do is put her feet in the ground harder, right? And now it's a fight. And I'm not interested in being right as a coach. I'm interested in being effective. Right? I don't care if I'm right or wrong. I'll explain it in terms that are physiologically incorrect. So the first part to do is just to get on board and stand alongside them. So you're not opposing them. So my first part is, I understand how you feel. Number one, we're not antagonistic anymore. I'm on board with you. And then a lot of our clients, a lot of my other clients have felt that way too. So you're not alone. This is not a weird thing. And then what they have found is that, in this example, that as they do more squatting, the muscle gets tighter and they lose the body fat and their legs look amazing. So it's that idea is that I'm not going to disagree with you. I'm going to agree with you, right? I understand how you feel. What our other clients felt that way, so you're not alone. So there's two things. I agree with you. I understand how you feel, and other people have agreed with you too. So this has happened before. And when we've established that this has happened before, it's only happened once to you, but it's happened a lot to me. So now I'm the expert again. And what they found is this, right? Now you're not lying. It's like I'm not sure if I should sign up for a 3-month program. Can't I just buy one session? I understand how you feel. A lot of our clients felt a little concerned with the commitment, but what they found is when they made that commitment to themselves, everything got better in terms of their results. But we give it a try. So basically you're circling the objection and you're coming back to it. So there's only a few objections for someone joining a gym. Time, money, spouse, or significant other. Somebody else has to say a certain number. You got to run the finances by somebody. And the last one's motivation. Usually by the time they've come to see you, that probably isn't happening as much. But there's only ever 3 types of client too. One who's never worked out before, really hard to sell because they have no idea what it is. Somebody who's working out now somewhere else, easy to sell because something happened. You're not looking for a new gym if you're really happy. And the third is they used to work out and they're going to come back to it. So with that third one, I just got to find the reason why. I got too busy at work. Is that still a problem for you? Right? And I feel like it can be. I'm like, all right, how many days a week do you think you can commit to working out? And they say 3. I go, let's set that up for 2. Time objections off the table.
Right.
Right. And that's your idea. Is these are only a few things that, and no one jumps around on the objections unless they're what we found as a spy from another gym just coming to test things out. They don't be like, our hours are from 5 a.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday. We close at 7 on Friday, and we're open 7 till 1 on a Saturday, and everyone rests on Sunday. Notes the language. We're not closed on Sunday. Everyone rests on Sunday, right? Do these hours work for you? They'll say yes.
Yeah.
And if they say no, then I have to figure out. And some days, if they can only train at 2 a.m., I'm not going to lie, I can't fit you in. But that's never happened. Right? Whenever you teach sales, these are the examples people give you that never have actually happened in life. Right? But once you've cleared that objection, they can't use that objection anymore because you've already answered it. So but if someone says, yeah, but it's too expensive. Like that's not going to come up there won't be a second objection when you isolate the first one.
Right.
And feel, felt, found is the way to do that.
There could be though. I mean, this is where you get into hard sales because when I was selling for memberships for Bally's, which was a very short-term thing, they would circle back. But this is when you
need to make a decision on what type of salesperson you want to be, because the money one can circle back.
Oh yeah.
Where you'll take care of that, and then it's going to circle back, and then they don't know. And then this is where I think it becomes ridiculous, is when you start asking them how much money they spend getting out of shape each month, and then compare that.
I've heard things like, I've got to ask my wife, I got to ask my husband, and the old response used to be, did you ask them about how it was okay for you to get fat?
Yeah. I mean, this is hard sales. This is old scale sales. I mean, that's where, that's probably why I got fired from sales at Valley's, because I wasn't willing to do that, and I wasn't willing to call people out of the phone book either. So there's many reasons. But I'll tell you how good that salesperson was, and I said this in an earlier podcast. I was fired, and I didn't even know I was fired until I was walking to my car, and I thought, I think I just got fired. Because the way he communicated it to me was like, okay, this is cool. And then it's like, I'm walking to my car, I'm like, I don't think I work here anymore.
I had a good sales pitch today, actually, at the airport. I've been meaning to sign up for this for forever. It's Clear. I've got the TSA pre-check, but I've never done Clear. I never got around to it. So as I'm coming up, this guy's like, hey, are you clear? I'm like, no. And he goes, let's set you up right now. And honestly, it took about 3 minutes to do. I think it's like $180 a year, which is totally worth it. But the way he said it to me, he goes, it's 30 days free. Here's the real thing is there's 30 days free before you get billed. He said to me, he goes, let's set you up for 30 days as my guest. That's a totally different feeling.
Right.
Right. And I'm like, oh, well, now I'm doing that. Right. that language changes everything. Like that. When you're saying that person's a good salesperson, they fired you didn't even know. This guy basically signed me up for a year's membership, which was, like I said, it wasn't any bait and switch. Like this is something that I wanted to do. But that language of 30 days as my guest, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So let me interject a question. So there's lots of new training facilities, if you will, or gyms popping up. Let's say this was made into an open membership facility. Would hard sales work more for a facility like this, or would the I
don't think it ever works anymore.
I don't think it works for anybody. I don't think you ever should do it. I think if you do it, you're going to end up with somebody that's going to leave anyhow.
Okay.
Or
the hard sale?
Yes, the hard sale.
You're leaving regretting it right away.
Yeah, and they're going to be telling people immediately that, I got stuck in this membership.
It's like you're forcing somebody to do,
it's just not. It started when health clubs were operating. I don't know if they still do this now, but the sales guys didn't get paid unless you sold. Bottom line. And they didn't care how you made the sale as long as you made the sale. You didn't have you were made fun of. I mean, they had leaderboards, and here you're at the bottom of the leaderboard, so it wasn't like bullying or any crap like that. If you left and you didn't make a sale, you felt like shit.
Right.
And then if you didn't close the sale, you got pulled into the manager's office to rehearse the whole damn thing on why it was. And all I wanted to do was fucking train people. So I didn't know how I ended up being in the sales. I thought I was going to be a trainer.
Okay.
So...
But I will say, and those models, the sales guy often got a huge piece of the first month.
Yes.
So they didn't care what they'd sold you.
Sure.
What happened?
They got all the money up front.
Right.
Yeah, the gym makes all the money on the back end. I made all the money on the front end. But what I will say is when I left there and then ended up working in the other place, the place I stayed for 9 years, all the skills that they taught me there, I used. The time commitment, spouse, money, the referrals, all this other kind of stuff came from the 2-week training period that I had through them. I just now had to mold it into the demographic I was in, which was a demographic of people who were already members of the club. So I didn't have to sell the membership.
Right.
I walked into a facility that had $4,000 a year of personal training sales, with the average club member earning $250,000 a year. All right. 4,000 members. Now we're going back 30 years. When I took the job there, I negotiated a less pay than what they offered, because they wanted to pay me as a fitness instructor at $15, whatever it was. I said, I'll tell you what, pay me minimum wage. But if I can do $100,000 in personal training sales by the end of the year, you'll give me X% of the personal training and let me hire trainers underneath me that will figure out the percent.
But back then, you were not you were reading business books and training and sales books back then.
Yes.
Where most trainers are still reading just muscle and fitness.
Yes, because and this actually ended up being a great situation for me. It was, I mean, it worked out well for when I hit that top end. It didn't work out that well for the club because they essentially were breaking even on me because it was still, on payroll during administrative hours. So my overtime rate was fucking ridiculous because you got to take the commission, put it in there, but they made a lot of money on the trainers that were underneath me. But where I benefited the most from them is when it got to a point that after I had Blaine, I realized I couldn't work from 5 a.m. until 9 at night. I could not do that.
Scalable.
And I went in and I was doing consulting things with Louie and, so there were side things that were kind of going on. To speak to the club manager, and I told him that I wanted to move from the payroll structure I was under and be an independent contractor and just get paid from my clients, and I was going to drop some of my client load. And I wanted to do that for 2 reasons. The first reason was I didn't want to take advantage of the club because I was on payroll. So if I had 2 hours of cancellations, I'm reading business books, I'm returning I had the pager, I had to get pages. I returned pagers using their phone. It's like, this is kind of fucked up. This is a different business. It's not their business. So I let him know about that. And the benefit of that was it allowed me to have more control over my schedule instead of I still had control, but I can't take off time when I know there's going to be clients.
Right.
I know I can take off between, 8:30 in the morning, 9 in the morning, and 11:30. Fucking nobody's coming in. It's that I can do, but I'm not going to take off between 5 and 8 p.m. That's freaking retarded. It's stupid. So it gave me more control, but what it did is it earned his respect to where he started asking me, what is it that you want to do? And I said, well, I'm not really sure yet, but it's going to have to involve, it's going to be involved with this seminar and this consulting. And he said, well, you need to have multiple streams of income. So I learned so much about business just sitting in this, because it was more than a health club. It was a dining facility. It was a full country club type of thing. Wow. I learned more sitting, talking to that manager about business and books that he would recommend. He's like, here's Ken Blanchard's Raving Fans. Read this. Come back, we'll talk about it. So I'd read it, come back 2 days, we'd talk about it. I learned more about business from him in like 3 months than probably my whole life and I grew up in a family business. So it made it really easy, and also kind of hard, when it came time to actually leave. Because when I left, I was still leaving an income for basically no income. It wasn't a jump upward. Right. It was a big jump down. And he helped with that, I mean, he did say you can always come back and all that other stuff, but if I was going to do this, I was not going to go. I wasn't going to come back.
Burn the boats, right?
Yeah. I mean, it was, this is it, this is what it's going to be, and it's going to be that. But
I think the lesson for everybody listening or watching is that you got to understand exercise science. You got to understand coaching cues. You got to understand communication. But at some level, you have to understand selling. You have to understand. And I hate when trainers tell me, I'm just not good at numbers. I can put a 45-pound bar on a rack and start adding plates randomly, and they all know how much is on the bar. So you're good at numbers. You're just not good at money numbers. So they always say, I'm not good at money. I'm like, okay, if we did a seminar here, could you take the money at the front? Of course you could. If we sold a product for charity and the money went to cancer research or the children's home, could you take the money then? They're like, yeah. Like, so you've got no problem taking money. You just have a self-worth issue, right? And that's the real reason you don't believe you're worth it yet. So the way you become worth it is to study more so that you feel like you are worth it, right? And then take the power away from the money. Money is, we used to barter. I had cows and you had chickens. And I would swap you a cow for 5 chickens. And that was the deal. And we just swapped what we had. And then we ran into a situation where I still needed more chickens and you didn't need any more cows. So I had to swap the cow for goats to swap for chickens. And then we created this universal currency called money. And that's all it is just the way we explain stuff. Understand that money is some made up shit that we use to communicate equally.
Right. Value
that we used to just swap services or swap things that we did. A farmer would swap something, right? And that's the part, if people are afraid of money, just get away from, just understand that it's something that we made up ourselves. And we just use it to communicate value. Technically, we could swap a house for a certain number of personal training sessions, right?
Right.
But if I don't need a house, right, or I don't need personal training, but we could still swap with this universal thing that I can use for other things. Take the power away from it, but learn how to sell. And selling is just about value. It's not about the money. It's if I have an envelope in my pocket that has cash in it, and you can ask me one question. If you can offer me 50% of what's in this envelope, I'll give it to you. And you can only ask one question. The only question you're going to ask is how much is in that envelope. Mm-hmm. You're not going to ask how much do I have, right? Because if I have $1 million here, you're like, you know what? I'll give you $500,000, but I need 1 hour net before I can pay you, right? And you'll pay it back. But it's about the value. It's not about what can you afford. It doesn't matter. It's what is this worth. And once you get that mindset set right, then that's really what you're communicating. Is you get that first plate on the bar. Right, you get and it doesn't matter what the number is. It's the first big plate, 45-pound plate, right? And you get a kid to bench press that. You got that kid for life. Mm-hmm. You get that client down a jean size. Doesn't matter. You got them. Like, and this is the part is that, like, as years ago you told me, he goes, "What business are you in?" We're in the fuck yeah business. When that happens, you got them, right? Mm-hmm. Like you're looking for those moments, right? Those breakthrough moments, those moments where somebody feels, and that's what we're selling. We're not selling sets and reps.
Yeah, I think the key takeaway here is knowing what business you're in. I think people don't think enough about that. Like, what are they actually doing? I am not in the e-commerce business. I'm in the business of, educating and outfitting people with the greatest strength products and services in the world. That's the business that I'm in. I'm in the business of empowering and making people stronger. Yeah. That's what we do.
The delivery system of how that does.
We make people stronger. That's as simple as it becomes. Where some of my competitors are in the business of manufacturing. Some of my other competitors are in the business of creating jobs. Some of my other competitors. So we're all in the same space, but we're in the business of doing different things. And that's what separates you from your competitors. And because they're really not your competitors. Right. If you're doing what you're really in the business of doing,
they're not doing the same thing.
They can try to duplicate it, mm-hmm. but they can't duplicate you. Mm-hmm.
Anybody can open across the street from you with newer equipment at a lower price, mm-hmm. and if that's all it takes to take a chunk out of your business, you don't have one.
Right. You're not doing it right.
You got to have your fences around your clients. So they belong to something bigger than a workout, bigger than equipment. And I see, you'll see this transition that. Like I've got at the seminar this weekend, I'll talk about the transition from a client who I go to the gym I go to Results Fitness. They name the gym they go to.
Yes.
I'm a member, and then they become something else. They become a power lifter. They become an obstacle course racer, mm-hmm. and their identity. Like we're in one of my coaching group members, Carrie Nigra from Canada, says we're actually in the identity engineering business. We're changing who somebody thinks they are. Mm-hmm. Right, and we do it through smart exercise, good nutrition, and a good social support system. But you're just changing that person's identity, that they think of themselves as an athlete, not as
a member
of a gym, or not as somebody who works out occasionally.
And that ends up sticking with them outside of the gym.
Yeah,
everything that you're doing inside literally transitions outside.
You've got it when somebody actually moves and asks you, "Do you know a gym like this there?" Mm-hmm. Is there anybody like you who lives here? You've got that person. You've changed them forever.
Sure.
Right? Yep. They may never ever come back to you because they've moved country or they moved somewhere. Right. They'll always be changed because of what you did. And this is I learned this from a martial arts instructor. Right? Like how many years you've been training, Chris?
8.
All right. So I'll give you 800,000 for all of that and all those memories to go away. No chance, right?
No.
And that's how much it's worth. Right, because it's transformed you, right, and it's taken you like to do something, and that's the idea is that I don't know what it cost me to get my black belt in Taekwondo, but there's not a number you could come up to take that away, to take all these experiences away. And when you get right down to it, that's what we do, right? And that's the stuff that's just the Simon Sinek book. You start with why. Like, why do you do what you do, right? And what you do is change everything about people. And why you do it is because it's amazing when you can change. If you can impact, the reality is that every single thing in this world, like every family, every small business, every large business, every corporation, every government, there's just people at the heart of that. They're just people. And if you can take one person and make everything in their life a little better, a little easier through good exercise, good nutrition, social support, you can impact that person and you can impact that family and that small business and that large business and that government. And you can change the fucking world if you just reached enough once.
I think that should be a Tuesday quote for you.
Well, it's a butterfly effect. It's.
But that's the idea. That's what we do. But how I do it is exercise.
Yes.
Right. Other people do it from martial arts or from being a school teacher or many other ways of doing it or providing like equipment that they can change everything about it. But it still starts with the why and impact and the one. I'll put up on next Tuesday.
The thing that I get a lot of is when there's conversations such as this, and I have a lot of, one of the aftermarket services that we provide is I'll meet with gyms that we've set up and provide service, business service, training service, helping them and just answer questions, basically consulting for them. And there's a long story of how that kind of all came about, but that is something that we do that no other company can do. Because I'm the one that's doing it. I've been around for 21 years. And I'm not going to bullshit anybody. But the feedback that I get a lot is it's not really the numbers thing. It's all I got in this to do was to train people and coach. And then my answer back to them is, so what you're telling me is to be a coach, you should be mute. That there's no communication if you're a coach. Because all I'm talking about and all we're really talking about here is basic communication skills. That's it. We're not talking business because people are like, I don't like the business end. Well, you know what? The business end is basic communication skills until you get to finance, and things of that sort. The marketing, the sales, the referrals, the customer service is just all basic communication skills that most of us learned before we even got to kindergarten.
How do you one of the things is that it comes back to content is people only do business with people that they know, like, and trust. And all the stuff in marketing, everything there is about accelerating that relationship as fast as you can, right? Because at first they're not even aware of you. Then they're aware of you. Then they're sort of like interested. 55% of the buying decision is done before they've even made contact with you. So when people tell you that, like, I closed 60% here, I'm like, 55% coming in, we're already ready to go.
Halfway there.
Right? You need some sales skills at the end. But it's other than purely finance and you know what? People who's like, I don't like the business side of it. I'm like, grow up. This is the reality of how things are done. You're going to have to pay taxes. I seen a joke the other day and it was about taxes. There's the government's like, hey, you have to give us our share. And you're like, oh, you're going to tell me what it is? He goes, no, you have to figure it out. and he goes, all right, so I can pay what I want. He goes, no, we know what we want.
And if you don't figure it out.
If you don't figure it out the right way, we're going to get you in trouble. But no, you have to understand finances. And it would be great if we could just swap things. We could just swap food for housing and training for things. But we've got this universal currency and you got to understand how it works. And part of that's just understanding business skills. It's like being a trainer and refusing to understand anything to do with cardio, only understanding strength. At some point, you need to expand your skill set. And if you're doing this for a living, you do have to understand the finance, or you have to bring somebody in who does. Right? If you don't want to do it, it still has to get done. Right? So like, you don't like cleaning the gym needs to get clean. So either you do it or you bring somebody in to do it.
I still think you need to learn, if you're the owner, you need to learn the finances enough, because if you bring somebody in and you don't know, then you're giving up a whole lot of control that can end up costing you a whole lot of money in the end. The other things that I stress, and Shark Tank has actually been great for this because it's brought it a little bit more to the forefront. Is I'll ask, what is the lifetime value of your client? And they have no idea. Now, this is very fucking simple to figure out. You can Google it, and it actually will draw a little box and give you a formula. And even if, those listening can't figure it out, take your best guess.
Well, for trainers, what does a client pay you monthly, and how long do they stay on average?
Yeah, well, they don't know. On average, they don't know because they're not tracking it. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But the thing is they'll come back and say, I just don't have the time to track that. I'm like, but you can track the sets and the reps and the weight for every one of your clients because that's important. Yeah. But you can't track this, which is actually pretty easy to look at because at some point they had to sign a waiver. Mm-hmm. So when they signed up. Mm-hmm. All right, it's just going to take you a day because you're an unorganized fuck and don't use any type of system. And then you can pretty much figure out when they stopped because you're going to see a stop payment either through the credit card billing.
Average, how many days a week did they come?
Without that number, like I've got a list of 10 people who are ready to join your gym in Chicago. How much is that list worth to you?
Right.
You've got no idea until you know what a client is worth to you.
Exactly.
Well, marketing cost, right? Yeah. Let's say you have your client lasts 3 years and it's worth $4,000. And now you have something that you want to test marketing wise that you have a good gut feeling about, but it's going to cost you $100, $1,000, $2,000. All right. How many people does it have to bring in? Hell, if it brings in half a client, it paid for itself. Sure. So now when you start looking at your advertising costs, your marketing costs, how much you're going to give away, if you want to give incentives, like, hey, look, if you bring me a new client, I will give you $500 cash. But you can't say that definitively now because you don't know the lifetime value.
Exactly.
All right. The other part of that is you need to know the cost of acquisition, which becomes a little bit more tricky. But how much does it cost you
to get a new
member? Yeah. And that's, again, you can look online and find a million different formulas for that. But once you know that, then all of a sudden marketing becomes more clear, decisions become more clear.
Because marketing stops being an expense completely when you understand that. It's a math game.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Like if a client's worth 10,000 to me and I can get one for 9, I'll play that game all day long.
Absolutely.
Like it's just like the numbers get scary for trainers because they're like, oh, that's a small percentage. That outperforms the stock market, incidentally. The other thing you have to do is if you've got staff, cost to serve, right? It's not if a client pays $100 a month, it's not $100 profit for the gym. There's cost to serve.
Right.
So you got to know that too. But once you understand that, what does it cost me to get a member and what is a member worth, then marketing it's not. You never worry about it.
Mm-hmm. So I'll throw out a really, really basic, simple example is, let's say a targeted Facebook ad to your neighborhood is $400. All right. At face value, you're going to think, fuck, $400. Mm-hmm. All right. But now if you know that the average lifetime value of a customer is $3,000, you might be more willing to pull that plug just to see what happens. Mm-hmm. And now let's say that ad brings in 3 people. Mm-hmm. All right, now you're like, oh, shit. Maybe this might want to be something we want to take the revenue we just generated from those 3 people and double down.
Right. 100%.
Right.
Go right back into it and hit it again while it's hot because it may not always be hot. Mm-hmm. Then just then when it stops, it's like, okay, pull off. But as he said, you can't look at it. It's like a game. It's like it's a Monopoly game. You can't look at it like real money, even though it is real money. It most definitely is real money, especially when it don't work. It's real fucking money. Oh, yeah. But when it's money that's being traded like that, it's an investment.
Yes.
That, and in most cases with advertising, it doesn't work. But when you find one that does work, I think you got to double down on it. But you got to know the value.
Stop working too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got to know the value. First off, to make sure it is being profitable. To the bottom line as well as to the top. But it ties in with
what you said though. Like, why would you know exactly every set, rep, and load a client has used, and you're timing rest periods, but you don't know how much it costs to get you a new member? Like, it's the same game.
You're
looking at numbers, right?
It's just an excuse. Yeah, they don't want to do it.
I'm not good at numbers. I just want to coach.
Yeah. So they don't want to do it, which means they don't care about their business, which means they ultimately don't care about their clients. Because if they cared about their business, they'd want to stay open and be able to serve their clients. So it's communication again, how you circle it all back.
One of the objections, and it ties in exactly with that they don't care about their clients by not caring about this. You'll sometimes get a mom coming to the gym and everything's about her kids. That's why she's not working out right now, because their kids are the most important. And without doing the hard sell, it's perhaps the most selfish thing you ever heard, right? Because if you go down, everything that the kids rely on you for has gone, right? Because you didn't take time to sharpen the saw, right? And look after yourself. And that's, if you really care about your clients and getting them results, then you have to be able to pay the bills.
Yes.
Right? You have to be able to do that. And there's nothing wrong with being financially successful. It's a weird, like, all the Lex Luthor is the rich bad guy, right? Like in all the movies, the evil guy is the rich guy, right? And we're programmed with it wrong, but you got to get over it, right?
Now
we all got over weight training slowing you down, right? We all got over that weight training bulked you up and made you slow and awkward and not athletic. So we can get over any sort of resistance about finances and money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now the earlier discussion about the social media and how it plays a role. It plays multiple roles because, I mean, now you got Facebook, you got the Facebook ads. It really has become more of an advertising platform than it is. Nobody's going to see your post unless you're going to pay for your post to be boosted. We spend a ton of money just to get articles boosted. Instagram right now is, moving in that direction slowly. It's getting there. You can pay for boosts and stuff like that. But the couple things that go on with Instagram, because it is probably the most popular now for the demographic most people are serving as far as clients, is they're going to vet you. All right. If they're interested in you, they will walk outside or go to the bathroom and look you up.
Oh, yeah.
They will do that. So you need to make sure what you have out there are like really cool quotes on Tuesday. But
we did it earlier today, though. I was like, I don't know that guy. And you're like, here's who he is on Instagram. I'm like, oh, okay.
See?
Yes,
right? Like,
yes,
we
they will do that.
We're standing there ourselves, right?
They will do that. So you got to make sure what's being put out there is the message that you want to send, because it will be done that way. And the other thing is for a facility, say, I think JL and I talked about this before he had the second location. At the Spot Athletics, he was filming PRs and then putting it on the Spot Athletic page. And I said, JL, why don't you hand the phone? Why don't you let the kid film it? We get the kid's phone and then you film it using the kid's phone. And then after you film it, you hashtag and geotag and tag, yourself and, your company, and then let the kid post it.
Yeah.
So the kid writes, I just broke PR. Then it goes on his timeline.
Page, right.
Now, who's going to be the client?
Exactly.
The people going to the Spot, page, or the people going to the kids'
People
timeline?
who already go to the Spot are already at the Spot.
Well, he can always reshare it.
Yeah.
Right? But the kid just posted this to all his friends. And so the more times that can happen, that's him. That's a referral source just waiting to happen. Where in today's world, you'll have a lot of trainers like, fuck the kids. They got to leave that shit in their locker. And I get that. I understand that more than anybody. But if they're breaking a PR and all it takes is you saying, "Hey man, run to your locker. Let me get you this for your parents or whatever." You know what I'm saying?
I think there's a balance with that for coaching. Is I don't want cell phones on the floor. I don't want everything recorded. But we're in a different world, man.
You have to go.
You got to take advantage of the, I guess you would call them magic moments, opportunities. Take advantage, because if you do it all the time, it's going to mean nothing.
Right.
The people are going to stop following the kid because all he's doing is posting his training. The same reason we stop following a lot of the people we stop following. But if it's a big moment, like, man, this kid's jacked. It's the first 315 he ever hit, or first 3 plates, or whatever it is. Now he's got it memorialized. So he has it forever, basically, until Instagram goes.
Good word.
Goes away.
Memorialized.
Yeah,
nice job.
Yeah, I like that. So it's there for that, and
we call it gift marketing.
Yes.
That we gift is that get in front of them. Is that like, if I can get to that kid's audience, I'll get somebody as a client. Right. That all we do with marketing and paid advertising is we're trying to reach that audience. Right? Where are they right now? They're on his social media.
Yeah, sure.
Get on that. Like, how do you get him talking about you, right? You'll spend a lot of money to try to figure out how to get that audience. He already
Just
has
let him
it,
do it.
right?
Yeah, he's got it.
Yeah.
I mean, they're there.
Yep. Yeah.
And that's the thing is that I know, and most of us as coaches, we're so much stronger in front of people that if we can just, all our job is to get in the room where all the moms are talking about they need to lose weight, or where the kids just got their butt kicked, right? And you get in that room and you'll close them.
Yes.
But it's getting to their platform, right? And that's the key is get that on that kid's platform instead of posting it on your own. And you can share it on your own. You can take 2 copies if you want, but get it on his. That's the key thing.
Yeah.
Throughout the years, what would you say is, I don't even know how to word this. I know what the answer is that I want the answer to be. I'm trying to figure out how to question. What do you think the most important thing is for, a business owner or trainer that's in the industry to be able to develop into their business for the near to long-term future?
It's honestly, this is
for them personally.
It's you need. Well, I can go into 2 areas. The one thing that it keeps coming back to is core values and culture. When you develop that core value and who you are and who your people are, that becomes bulletproof. And in terms of skill set, that drives the skill sets, right? But it starts with like your core values are your operating system as to what type of a person you are and things that you won't stand for. And like mine is like, I'm a person of my word. If I said I'm going to be there, I'm going to be there. If I'm legs hanging off and the flight crashes, like it becomes so painful for me not to do that. And for other people, like some people, I think like one of ours at Results Fitness is a fun and a sense of humor, because like if you've been around me long enough, you know that's what's happening. Other people, fitness is really serious, right? I could never do that, and they can't do what I do. But without that core value, without that, and that's not just me, that's my team, and that's our members. If you don't fit into this culture, it's never going to work, right? And it's like it's Westside had a culture of winning. There's teams that have a culture of winning, right? And that becomes something organic that you have to be a part of. And all the skill sets to understand communication and social media and making sure you spend as much time learning business and coaching psychology as you do in exercise science all collapses if you're not who you say you are, right?
Well,
Core values.
We just had a conversation. He was talking to a young coach, called him the other day, and to kind of get some advice in the industry and being a coach. And that was literally one of the conversations that he had with him was, you've already had results with people. You've already gotten success, because the kid was like, well, I was at a school. Now I'm at a private facility, and I feel like I have to change, what I do and how I train people. And he's like, no, you don't. Do what you do, what you know has always worked, and people will come to you. But trying to be something or do something because you saw some other coach on social media do it, it's always going to fail. It's always going to fail.
It's not who you are.
Exactly.
Right. And Dave talked about this in podcasts before. Like the individuals that keep reinventing themselves, they're doing it because they're not successful. Because they've lost. They don't know what they're going after.
Right.
So I think that as the profession goes, just in fitness, there's multiple skill sets you need, and there's things I've always had this phrase of like, you're supposed to learn from someone who's been there and done that, and still doing it now, because it's fucking different, right? Jack LaLanne didn't have to worry about Facebook, right? When Gold's Gym opened, they didn't have to. And now Gold's Gym's still around and doing very strong. They didn't have to worry about a negative Yelp review or Google SEO, right? The game has changed now, right? I can tell you, without hiring millennials is different than when I hired people 10. Like we've been open 19 years at Results Fitness, and that wasn't my first job, but hiring people then was very different than now. The consumer comes in more educated. There's more competition you're not just competing with other gyms, you're competing with YouTube, and you're competing with Netflix, because some people just want to sit on the couch, right? But like attracts like. You get that core values right, and we review our staff based on core values, right? Like that's the only scorecard. Like, are you living up to who we're supposed to be? And if they're not, and we have a living, and you ever seen that Scottish voice activated elevator? 11. Google that shit later. I get that sent to me so many times. Right? I realize I said 11 there. But that if you don't have one of them, you can't be a fit, right? And it goes for clients too. If there's if they don't have part of it, and you take everything away and you let me keep that, right? I'll be fine, right? And the second thing, the practical thing I would say is that know, like, and trust is so important. If you took all my gym away and let me keep my contact details of my clients, my database, I'll be back up and running in 90 minutes, right? Because they can still reach them. And that's important now, I think. As cool as social media is, you want to try to move people off of that onto your own database so you can reach them directly. Don't let somebody else have your whole business. Facebook went down about a month ago for a day, and some people lost their shit, right? Business-wise. Yeah. Right?
Okay.
I can tell you, I used to do on my Facebook page a Q&A, and I get 100 questions in 15 minutes. It's so fast. Now in my group of people who have requested to Facebook, I want to follow this guy and listen to what he has to say, I can put it up in an hour, maybe 8 people will see it.
Yep.
It's just changed, and you can't be mad because you don't pay. That's up to them. Control your own database. Mm-hmm. So what were you hoping I would say?
Well, I will get to that, but you hit the value part, which when I do the consulting that I talked about and still do now, the first thing I start with are core values and defining the core values, because we use them here for the business, and it is, I got employees that can attest that when they fill out their own reviews, each one of those reviews is asking about one of the core values of the company. But when I'm meeting with people about their business or training philosophy, I think everybody, aside from business and so forth, should know what their core values are. Mm-hmm. Most people don't. If you ask them, what are your core values? They're going to say, honesty, integrity, and a lot of the things.
Integrity is always a funny one to me, because and we've used it to understand what it means to people. If you have any core values, of course you have integrity. That's what that means.
Right.
It's staying true to your core values. But a lot of times what they're defining and what they're saying that they have are not things that they can willfully say that they have. They're things that only other people can define that they are. You can't say I'm an honest person, right? Because you can't truthfully say that, because it's bullshit. Other people have to be able to say this is an honest person for it to mean anything. So the activity that I use is I'll have them write down 10 defining moments that they've had in their life growing up that was either something that somebody said to them, a passage in a book, maybe something from a Rocky movie, something that
a quote
inspired, a quote on Facebook, something that inspired them enough to make a change. Mm-hmm. Like I had a coach say to me when I was running stairs one time, why are you doing that? Because I don't ever want to lose again. Well, if you keep working harder than everybody else, you'll never lose. All right, boom. That would be one I would put down there. That changed my life. I had another coach that said, when I flunked out of college, you're not stupid, you're just lazy. Boom, it went down there. So those are all things you want to think hard. Like, what are the things that changed my life that somebody said or done and did? And just write down their names.
I think also when you write down the names of the people, there's something about that person who has a core value that you respect.
Yes. Right.
Yes. That not just the quote that was the thing, that person was, they exhibit something that you aspire to.
So you write down those 10 names and then flip over the sheet. And usually I just went with that. But one time I asked this to a former NFL player and he had no names. So I flipped over the sheet and said, okay, let's go a different direction. Write down 10 things that have happened in your life that just fucking piss you off that you'll never forget. Boom. He could have wrote for hours, but put down 10 and then flip back over. Now write down why. Okay, why this person? Why this cartoon character? Why this book person? Whatever it is, why? Just 2 sentences. Don't write a fucking paragraph, just 2 sentences. And it will take, and when I do this in person, it probably takes 45 minutes that I'll give them to think about it, because I want them to really, really think about it. And then I'll give them a laptop, flip it open, search for core values. And I want to find a list that's got like 100 different words of core values, and say, go define what each one of these represent. Yeah. And then they'll go define it. And then after they're done, they're going to see there's a lot of commonalities. They're going to find there's about 5 to 7 things that pop up. And they're going to see on the negative side, that's a violation of one of the values on the positive side. And now what they have are their true inner soul core values. All right. That becomes, from a business standpoint or a personal standpoint, the ultimate decision guide. Yeah. Whenever you're stuck and you don't know what to do, you look at that page. You know, you just need the list.
The part two is that something that gets lost is there's no right or wrong with this. There's just strong or weak.
Right.
Like dishonesty. Like, oh man, somebody's dishonest to me. You're almost crossed off for life. Like, it's just such a horrible feeling. For other people, it's like, he's just bullshitting me. Yeah. Like, none of us is right. It just is what matters.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And the thing to remember is, once they're defined, you got to kind of look at it as a sliding scale. All right. And neutral is 0. All right. Neutral is where you want to be, you know, just right there. You're going to sometimes over exceed in some of those values. Like, you're going to do something that was just out of the world with one of those things. You can't sustain that while maintaining all the other ones. You're also going to do things that you're going to fuck up. All right. And just because you fuck up doesn't mean that that's not a value. It just means that, okay, shit, I'm 2 standard deviations away. I need a gut check. I need to get back. Okay. And that could be, okay, I need to change this job. I need to change whatever it is. You know, I need to get this back. Then you get back to 0 again. And that becomes the operation guide. It becomes, with what I do, it becomes the beginning of writing a strategic objective, which is, where do you want your business to be in 3 years, which will lead to key indicators, which will lead to, you know, and down and down. But if it doesn't start there, then it's fundamentally never going to be in the soul. And if it's never in the soul, you're beat.
It's going to be hard.
Especially in the business world, you're going to get your ass kicked. It's not fair. There's nothing fair about it. It's not nice. There's more adversity than there's going to be prosperity. The answer that I was trying to get from you, by the way, was the ability to step away if you're sick or if something happens. Because most trainers get caught. And even ones that own their own facilities, they can't go on vacation, you know, because they lose income. You know, they're screwed. So the first goal...
You don't have a business at that point. You just have a job, and your boss is a psycho.
Yes, exactly. So the first goal is, how do you work yourself into a way that you can have somebody working underneath you so you can leave? Because ask him, you never know how long you're going to be out. You know,
that was, for anybody who's listening who doesn't know, I get diagnosed with stage 4 cancer twice. There is no stage 5. Stage 5 is dead. So I guess it's a stage 5. What you laughing?
Because I've heard this.
Shut up. But that comes down to your ability to replicate yourself. And I know what you do as a coach is super unique, right? But then that's an art form. Now, you're improv. If you don't know what the workout looks like when Johnny comes in, like what mobility, what warm-up did we do? What's the first exercise usually? If you don't know what that is and you're freestyling it constantly, then you don't really know what's going on either. Right? Now, if it changes every time because you're running a different model, there's still a thought process that comes through here. So it sounds weird, you got to get all this stuff out of your head and into some type of a document, and that's your system. And a system stands for save yourself, stress, time, energy, money, right? You're just trying to replicate yourself so that let's just make it happy. I go away to visit my dad in Scotland for a month. The workouts are uninterrupted because there's how I would have done the workouts. And it's how our whole team do the workout.
But you already said you've also created a culture that your clients are going to know that they're going to generally get the same fun, you know, whatever.
Everything has to be the same, right?
That when they step in the door.
You don't go to Taco Bell on a Tuesday because Mikey's working. right? You go because it's a consistent product, right? We didn't get Domino's because we knew Stevie was on at night, right? Like it's a consistent product, and that's the concept. Is that it as good as you are, it still has to be a consistent product. And it comes down to systems, and they're remember you gave me the book, A System on How to Write a System, from the E-Myth, I think, right? Like here's like how do you write a system? Well, there's a system for that, right? And that's where it starts. But it's that ability to honestly replicate yourself and how you think. And it's hard in the beginning. Michael Jordan just catches the ball. He doesn't really understand that he goes to catching stance 1 and then prepare 2, right? But if he had to break it down and teach it, there's certain things that he does that we have to get out of your head and onto paper, so that if Dave goes away for 2 months, that people can still buy equipment from Elite, right? That we don't have to call him like, how do you bring up this sale, right? So that's more of a practical thing. Is that systems make average people great, and that's the key. Is trainers hear McDonald's and they think garbage because of the nutrition. Right, they think it's bad for you, and business people hear McDonald's and go, "Oh my God, you can make millions of dollars from high school kids who don't know what the heck they're doing, but they can just follow the script.
You can build a building and it's going to be the same everywhere."
And is there anybody listening to this who's never had a hamburger better than McDonald's? Everybody's had a hamburger better than McDonald's, but no one is giving you hundreds of thousands of dollars for your hamburger recipe because it's not consistent. Right, and you even know the recipe for a Big Mac, right? 2 all beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions, and a sesame seed bun. So they already give you the recipe, and you still can't replicate it. It's not the burger, right? It's the system. It's everything they do. Do you want fries with that? Right? Everything they do is just scalable, and it's 14-year-old, 15-year-old high school kids running it. Like, man, if when you put your business head on, it's the greatest thing you've ever seen. When you put your nutritionist head on, it should be eliminated, right?
The important thing with it is that I run into is how to scale to do it, right? So people are listening to you like, yeah, the guy's he's been in business for 19 years. Of course, he's going to have staff and all this. And you probably had this set up within 3 to 4 years after being in business.
Yeah.
So it's realizing that as you're building clientele, once you get to a lifestyle that is what you can maintain, not lavish, or over the top, right? Just maintain. Then it becomes discipline, because that next client can then become, okay, now we can start doing this, and this, and just spending money or basically wasting money, or saving that money to be able to build systems and put things into place. So when it comes time and you can hire somebody to come in, the biggest fear of those that own facilities is, I don't want the payroll, and it's because they can't afford the payroll. But if they had 3 times the revenue that they needed for that one person's payroll, even on a bad month, that one person's still covered. It's the scaling of the payroll that becomes a much more complicated issue. But the first one, while it is the hardest one,
it's the ugly one.
It's the hardest one to hire by far, just emotionally and everything that goes into it. It really, looking back, it isn't the hardest. The hardest is scaling into the teens and going from there, because then it's still dollars spent, which is out of your net, not out of your gross.
Right.
Out of your net, and that's a whole different thing. If you got I'll use the example of 10% because it's easy. If you got a 10% net margin and you're going to hire somebody for $30,000 a year, you need to generate $300,000 of training revenue just to cover that cost. That's a very simplified way. There's much more that goes into it because it is a payroll expense and it's a different expense. But that would be the most extreme number. That would be the highest, most extreme number to be able to look at, but it's really not that high. But where people fuck up is they get that influx. It's like, okay, we got 6 new clients. I'm going to go get a new car.
Right.
And it's like, fucker,
You could have
that was
$500
more every month that could have just been stocked
back in the business.
Going back into the business to be able to get you free to be able to go on vacation for
not
a
work
fucking
and
week.
still make money.
Yes, because you should be able to go on vacation for a couple weeks out of the year and not lose money. Not only are you spending money to go on vacation, you're losing money because your clients aren't paying you while you're there. Yeah, because while you're not there.
Right.
A good transition for a lot of coaches is that you do coaching and you do programming and there's a bunch of time spent doing admin work, returning phone calls or whatever you have to do. The first hire, I don't often want them to hire another coach because that frees them up to do more admin work. Why don't you hire an assistant? So you can do more higher level work. Because remember, the goal of hiring a staff member is not idleness, right? The goal is to scale up, right? So eventually you're like, you shouldn't be answering the emails or the phone calls because we can train somebody to do that, right? You shouldn't be making the appointments. We can train someone to do that. You should be at higher level work, coaching. And then at some point, the coaching is too low level for your business for you to be doing either. You should be training your staff and developing further. So that the whole thing is that a good way to do it is just track your hours and look at what you do every week. And if you're spending a certain number of hours doing, like I'm answering phone calls, emails, doing appointments, we can replace that and put in more coaching. So the more coaching will cover that.
Right.
Right. That's the owner shouldn't be doing It sounds weird. When you're broke, you have to clean your own bathrooms. But at some point, the time spent doing that
is
you
taking
could be
away
doing higher
from
level
something
work.
else, right.
Pay somebody to do that and don't be off, coach, right? And make more money. And then your whole idea is to constantly look at you as a business owner, what is the value for your hour? What is your time worth? And are you doing activities that match that? Does that make sense? Right? You've got to look at your day-to-day activities. But there is the part when you get those extra few clients. Now the finances are there to grow and scale, and that is I'll get a, and I've done it. You get a new watch. It was my thing, right?
I mean,
right?
we've all done it. It happens in every business.
And it starts too with right now, somebody listening, I'm sure is doing it, but you don't take clients whenever. You're at 2 a.m. on a Sunday, I don't take clients. So you already have some boundaries. So part of the idea is to strengthen that boundaries as part of your core values. But maybe there's people outside of that time that still want training that you could train a coach to do, right? And develop it. And I know the other fear everyone has is, what if I teach them everything that I know and then they leave?
They take it.
And it's a real fear. But I'll flip it. What if you don't teach them anything and they never leave? That's a worse situation to be in when you've got an idiot hanging around you who doesn't know anything. Teach, live, learn, and pass it on.
But in the end, they're also never going to be you, no matter what. No matter how much information you give them, they're never going to coach like you, be like you.
Do you want to coach your athletes to get better? I want to coach my coaches to get better. Right? If my fear is that they're going to leave, I think we figured out recently. I've got Craig's been with me 12 or something years. I had a few that have been with me multiple years and over time. But we've had 50 in the 19 years. Some have been stayed a month. Some left sooner than they'd have liked. Right, but there's a lot. Your goal is to develop more coaches. Your goal is, if you want to be a teacher, you want to teach, right? So I wanted my athletes to get better. I want my clients to get better, but I want my staff to get better too. So it's the same thing, right? Don't hold back the free stuff putting out there. Don't hold back training your team. Give them everything you got.
Yeah, see that when I hear that, it's because I'm no longer in that. I'm in a retail space forever, it seems like. But so when I hear that, it's all the first thing that comes to my mind is really that's so fucking stupid. And I understand that it is a real fear, and I get that. Yeah. But what I think is so stupid about it is, I look at you guys and I know what you know about training, and you're only using with the clients you're working with about 10 to 15% of what you know. So if you gave somebody everything you know, right, which first off would take 10 years, a decade.
And that's assuming you stopped learning.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. And that 15% that you actually use, everybody already knows.
Exactly.
They can, even a common layperson can go read that from a basic how to be healthy list that they Google. They can find everything that they need to know, right? So it's like you're scared that someone's going to take something that they can find on a how to be healthy list and go someplace else and use it. The systems, in other words, are a different thing. The systems should be trademarked and protected and so forth.
It's really hard if somebody leaves and goes somewhere, and non-compete in most states is really hard to enforce.
Right.
Non-solicitation is a little easier. Non-disclosure is pretty easy to enforce. And non-disclosure includes my client contact details, right? Like you only have access to them. It's getting harder now in the social media world.
Yeah, I bet.
Because people can friend. We've had an incident where you're friends with clients on social media, and really you shouldn't be, because you only met them through the business. But anything like the systems and how you write your programs, that's all proprietary to some degree, right? Protect that stuff, but don't hold back on developing your team.
Here's a question I don't know if you can answer. I've come to the conclusion that I've always said that, in porn you can see that you're getting fucked. On Wall Street, you're going to get fucked. In the fitness industry, you don't know you're getting fucked until after you got fucked, right? Now, the fitness industry is different, in my opinion, than the strength industry, which would be powerlifting, strongman. I guess you could throw CrossFit in there and bodybuilding. But the fitness industry is fucked. Why?
I think honestly, it's.
I don't even want to be a part of it. I've never wanted, like, any of those lists. Like, keep me the fuck off. I don't want to be any part of it, and I make fun of them. So it's terrible.
So I'm gonna go in a different direction with this. Is I think
there is no different direction.
You came up under a powerlifter, right?
Yeah.
I don't think I came up under a martial arts instructor. Like a gymnast comes up under a coach. I think in fitness, the barrier to entry is so low that most people don't come up under anybody. There's no apprenticing. There's no coming up anybody. So you're a trainer, and you're the first trainer you ever met, right? You just took a certification, and you're like, this is. I took this exam, and this is where I start. And it's still a young field, and that there's no lineage. Right, like I've only got a few. We've been open 19 years, and I was doing it for long. I've only got a couple of people that I can say these are my guys who came up under me, and I'm still around. So it's not even the next generation yet.
Gotcha.
So I think it's a lack of a mentor apprentice that you've been through powerlifting.
I get that.
And I can see that even in if you look at the elite CrossFit guys, they're coming up under coaches. They're learning stuff, and I think fitness is just the barrier to entry is the exam is the thing, right? If you learn to drive, somebody taught you to drive. We're almost the only field where there's nothing like that. Like and I can go off on certifications, good or bad or whatever, but it'd be nice to just be like, you got to come up under someone.
Yeah. Well, my problem and my biggest bitch with it is anybody who's been around training will agree that any beginner is going to make progress no matter what they do.
Yeah,
right.
You can be terrible at your job.
Yes, exactly. But in training, they're just, no matter how they train, I'm talking about the client, right? Okay, the person doing the exercising. No matter what they do, if they're a beginner, they're gonna make progress, regardless of what they do. When they come out, if they immediately hire a trainer, and then something happens and they don't need the trainer anymore, they're never going to train again. Yeah, because the trainers aren't training them how to train themselves.
Yeah, that's a great point.
And I'm seeing this happen in powerlifting right now because everybody's hiring powerlifting coaches to do their first meet. So where a lot of us had this long trial period of figuring shit out for ourselves, we had this certain degree of training independence and knowledge. Like, okay, we're cool, we got this, we know enough, but yet we still sought out other people to help us become better. Now they're coming straight in and it's like, here's your program. All right. So then they do one meet and then, okay, I don't like the meet. Then they want to do a meet again. Then it's like, I got to hire another coach, which is great for the coaches, but it's terrible for the actual person as a lifter because they're never going to become great because they're going to never learn how to overcome.
I think it's also, you use the term coach, and we use that internally at our place. There's a trainer and a coach, I think. A trainer supervises every single set and rep. A coach is taking you on a journey, right? They're empowering you to get better. I mean, right now, if you think about it, client buys 10 sessions at a regular gym, and their goal is to lose 10 pounds. Trainer A gets it done in 10 sessions. Trainer B, it takes 20 sessions. The current model, Trainer B, is financially more successful by delivering a product worse than Trainer A. Because we don't pay for the result.
Right.
They pay for this supervision, this counting of the reps, whereas a coach gets rewarded on the result. Right? You're not, like, maybe it's 4 workouts this week, maybe it's 3, but I'm not taking a hit on 3 because I think it's better for you.
Yeah.
Because I'm on the journey
Right.
with you. Like if you're training, like my obstacle course races guys, I was telling you, their volume will change and they'll get extra rest days. And if you're a personal trainer who, that's one less session a week, that's $50 out. Like
Right.
you're programmed differently. The compensation is wrong. Like if I got a client in shape in 10 sessions, I should be worth more than somebody who takes 20, but I'm not. I'm compensated less. If I decide that, Chris, you're flat, we're only going to do 3 workouts this week, and I take a hit financially, right? Like that's a coach is just like I'm just overseeing the whole thing. I don't get paid per workout. So I think it's an apprenticeship, and I think it's the model. And I think obviously that as you're saying, it's the bad side is creeping into powerlifting too, where people are just looking for an answer. That there has to be an education attached to this.
Yes.
Coaching has to be an education. You have to become a powerlifter. You have to get your black belt. You have to be somebody where you come through it, and it's not just like that. I think it's a Dan Kennedy line. People are walking around with their umbilical cord in their hand, looking to plug it in to a new mom.
Well, and
right?
this also comes back full circle to what you were talking about losing staff. When people come into the powerlifting realm and you're talking about coaching them, you're not just trying to get them through the meet. You're teaching them what you know.
Yeah, you're growing your field.
So that they can understand, and eventually, should they technically need you? You know what I mean? Like
I think a good coach should if you do an amazing job, they should outgrow you.
Exactly.
Right.
So when you have a client walk through the door, if you look at this individual and say, you're interested in powerlifting, I'm going to teach you everything that I know that you don't need me to go to your meet. Yeah. That's being a true coach.
Yeah.
They can revert back to you and be like, hey, why is this happening, or what's going on? That doesn't mean you're still their coach, but you took them through that part of the journey where you got them into that sport, and now they can keep growing, and they're not going to fall.
They don't need your hand holding.
I think it's part is that the coach trainer term in our world is becoming interchangeable, and they're not the same.
No, they're different.
They're
totally
different. And I could say as my taekwondo coach is somebody I still talk to regularly, and still is a big part of my life. But at one point he was my instructor, and that's not the same relationship.
Yes.
He would do this. No, that was wrong. But no, and then as he became a coach, what do you think? And it becomes a process more than a prescription. Like that, here's your program. It's a prescription. Like that's not
you talk a lot about this as far as coaches, and now with social media and online coaches, and how long the coach has been. Right? You have your coach checklist. How do you find a good coach, right? What have they done? Who have they trained? How have they been successful? Blah, blah, blah. Because now, like you said, somebody takes one certification. Now they're a trainer. And it in this day and age, the people who don't know just go, oh, you have a piece of paper and a certification. You must know what you're doing. So nowadays, I feel like those people they don't know any better, so they just find somebody who is a trainer.
Perhaps it's not them who's finding the trainer. Perhaps it's a trainer who doesn't realize they don't know anything.
Correct.
They think they got the same education as, like, you got your personal training certificate.
Correct.
I'm the same as all you guys. We got the same qualification because it's a one qualification.
Right.
There's not a whole lot of levels in fitness training. There's not a whole lot of different, like. There's not a black belt and a green belt and an 8th degree black belt. That's just experience.
Right.
Like no one awards you master coach. I'm sure there's some certification that does, right? Where they have higher levels. And I'm actually not against that to show a differentiation. But this idea of like that an expert is the low level certification. And I don't want to be against certification. I feel like you should pick a few up. If you're in this field at all, you probably pick up a few, right? Just because you should be studying. But I think it's that, I want to say it's a trainer and a coach. A coach is and I think that if a young, using the term trainer who just got certified, asked me the fastest way to develop their career, I go mentor under the best gym in town. Go find JL if you're in this town. Go there and just fucking soak it in, right? And just learn and grow and ask questions and grow and just
right. And
develop.
Asking questions is the biggest thing.
Yeah.
I vividly remember this 2 years ago. I was training at the S4 compound and I was in the middle of a superset and Dave caught me walking to the second exercise and he goes, "What the fuck are you doing?" And he asked me that because I could not tell him what the reason was why I was doing the superset.
Yeah.
And he talks about it all the time. And he doesn't write programming for people. That's not his job. But he forces them to ask questions on a daily basis on the exercises that they're doing. If you don't have your people asking questions, or you're almost offended and you kind of bow up like, don't question me, like that is a red flag.
Well, I'd rather have the wrong answer with some thought. Like, why are you doing calf raises? I want to build the peak of my biceps. I'm like, okay, wrong, but at least you had thought it through.
Sure.
Right? Because most of the time answers, I don't know.
But further than that, I want them asking me. Even if they have no idea, like, why am I doing this? What is the benefit of this? Now they are stepping out of the realm of, I need you for everything to developing their
want to know
own
your thought process. And why did you just change it?
Right.
Like, why did you change this exercise? What it was working. Right. What is your thought process on this journey in relation to my goals and what I'm trying to do? I think it has to be. It's about if the model itself is financially rewarded by slower results and more sessions, that model is broken. Whereas the coach has to be the most effective number of sessions paid on the result, right? Or that this is part of your journey. The whole thing is different.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see that changing.
I don't think. I think it's hard. Like, an architect gets paid when the house is done, right? Like the plan, the builders get paid when it's done, not for $1 per brick.
Yeah, but your attorneys are paid by hour, same as mine.
Yeah, but he's also paid for the value he brings to the hour. But that's the idea.
How much they can milk you for.
But I think if like I said earlier, if he spent 20 minutes talking about his kids when I was meeting him, and it took longer and longer, I would look for somewhere else. But I think it's there's been a coach and a trainer. That's what I would.
I will
that's why
agree
fitness is fucked
with you on. It is also the trainer, in how they're defining their own skill set. When I was still in high school, I got a job working as a fitness instructor at a local club, and I knew all the fucking Weeder principles, all of them, inside and out. Like, if they asked me, I was ready, I was prepared, and knew it from my 3 years of training. Thought I knew fucking everything there was about training. Did a couple meets, knew linear periodization. Thought I fucking knew it all. Then I went to college. All right. And then after a few courses, I realized I don't know a fucking thing. All right. And then I ended up totaling my first elite and was like, yeah, I fucking know what I'm doing, and then another in a different weight class. Like, I fucking know this. And then the lift started tearing off. I did a couple bodybuilding shows. I'm like, okay, I know this better than fucking anything. There's nothing in this shit I don't fucking know. And then my lift stalled and I couldn't get any better. And I had professors telling me I hit a genetic limit. And I'm like, what the fuck is that? And then I'm start believing the shit. Then I start really talking to Louie and I realize I don't know a fucking thing, so right back to zero again. And then after 5-6 years with Louie, I'm like, I fucking know everything there is to know about powerlifting. There's nobody out there except Louie that knows more about powerlifting than I do. Right. And then you fast forward, after meeting Buddy Morris, and after a few conversations with him, it's like, I don't know a fucking thing about training.
I think that's the same in business too.
Yeah.
It's like, I know everything. And fuck, I don't know anything.
Yeah.
when you level up.
Yeah. And it's like the older I get, the more I realize I don't fucking know anything.
Right.
I remember first seeing like max effort, dynamic effort, and repetition method, and thinking you to choose one. I was like, fuck, what one would I do? I
max out every day.
I was like, well, those guys are maxing out. Maybe I should just do the fast. Not understanding the whole, and really reading this stuff, right? And not linking that this was something in your program. I just thought, well, I probably should just do for Taekwondo. I'll just do dynamic stuff. I'll just do that, with no idea.
The best thing I think ever happened to me is I got thrust into having to train Gen Pop. People that hadn't trained for 5-10 years. And this is a 100% true story. My first client was a dude, probably 240, looked kind of a little jacked, not really. I just threw a fucking plate on each side. It's what we did. It's how I grew up. Every gym I used to train in had a plate on each side all the time.
Yep.
And I lifted this off. I'm like, this ain't right. This feels fucked up, and ended up doing a reverse grip row, and then racked it and ended up putting a 5 and a 2 on each side and did sets of 10.
And you were like, oh shit.
Yeah. I went home that night and told Tracy, I'm like, you're not going to fucking believe this. I have no idea.
Dude couldn't even bench.
I'm like, this dude had to be 220 and couldn't fucking bench the bar.
You said something to me years ago that stuck, is that thing with young female coaches is they don't understand what strength is. Because the strongest person they've ever met is either their boyfriend or their dad. Mm-hmm. And they've never seen strength. But I can also flip it. There's some power lifters who come into general pop and don't understand real strength and levels are. Right? You have a fucked up number in your head.
Yeah. It was fucked up. And I learned real quick, this is fucked up. Yeah. That's when I started attending every fucking seminar I could. That was I was ACSM fitness instructor certified, which I don't know if still exists. NSCA,
general fitness.
I probably went to 12 conferences a year for 5 years and just took all of it in. When somebody's full of shit, so you just kind of scoot out the back and you're done. But it was okay, this is more than I thought it was. Mm-hmm. It's actually a regression of what I knew,
but a whole other world.
Very fucking humbling at the same time, because you think you know everything, but here I am trying to get this dude to bench a plate per side.
Everybody should be able to do a push-up.
Yeah.
And then you tell the girl to go down on the floor and do a push-up, and
ends up with a bloody nose.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's the young female coach's boyfriend benches 135 and she thinks he's crazy strong.
Right.
Her dad benched 135 in the garage. But there's also a power lifter coming in who'd never seen anybody who could have benched 135. Nearly killed the guy.
Yeah, I'm like, how do you program this? I'm like, what the fuck? What do I do? And it took me 6 months maybe to actually figure out how to lay out a program that was going to work for them, that was going to be motivational for them, that was going to be incentive for them to show up, because you get the client that will come every Thursday and that's it, or every Tuesday and Thursday. You can still make them stronger. It's just nutritionally, I always push that off. It's like, I'm not a dietitian. I can't help you with that. Here's Allison's number. Give her a call. She takes care of that. I'll do your body fat, so that's taken care of. But that I'm not responsible for. So whenever we did an 8-week review, if they got fatter, that's not my fault.
Not on you.
Yeah, it's fucking what the hell is Allison doing?
We were talking about this.
What I'm seeing is your push-ups are 200% better.
We were talking about this earlier that I can't remember what it was. One of the panel discussions, full body or split. And I was like, the question nobody ever asked is, how many times is this person trained? Mm-hmm. If that guy can only come once a week, you don't got a whole lot of options.
Yeah. No, you got one.
Yeah. And that's the idea, is that there's sometimes that your plan was, this guy's going to commit to 5 days a week because that's what we do.
Right.
And he's like, I can come Thursdays and maybe I can go for a walk on Sundays. That's the reality of the general pop, right?
It is. And you got to make it work, and even the smallest is going to make a little bit of a difference. That's what I figured, because I'm like, this is pointless. Why should the guy even come? But if he is getting the walk in, and it's typically what I would ask to do as well. If he's getting that in, he's getting this in, and then he's getting a little bit stronger each time. Even at the very least, it was in a corporate high rise. So I don't know what his job was, but I'm sure it's a stressful job. There's tons of law firms and their lobbyists and so forth. At the very least, he got a half-hour break once a week to come in and not have to fucking think about work. because they're all workaholics I was working with. And that's healthy there.
Yeah.
That alone is going to lower cortisol. That's going to lower stress. It's going to lower his risk of heart attack. It's going to lower, all the highest killers.
It's actually a marketing communication tool too, because you're so busy at what you do, and this fitness field is so confusing with so much misinformation. I got you. Just show up. I got you. I'll do all that for you. You don't even have to read this stuff anymore. I figured it out for you. And that goes in though with the coaching. I have to educate too. Is like, right now you're just gonna have to trust me. I'll explain everything, but you don't need to read it all.
And
I already did.
For individuals like that, it sells itself, because all of a sudden they leave you and they feel a million times better, and they're like, I'm working better after I leave. What if I do this more often?
Yeah.
Right. You can lead it to another session a week, twice a week now. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I need to pee.
All right. I think the piss is the end of the show.
Alan's tiny bladder.
Look how much water I stopped drinking.
It wasn't beer, so you stopped drinking it.
I know. I don't want to put that shit in my body.